I recently took a trip to Italy and I started my journey in Venice. And the day I went to Venice, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. So the photographs that I took in Venice tended to have some boring skies, even though it's a very beautiful city. So I would like to show you in this short video how I put together a couple of brushes in Photoshop to quickly add clouds to the boring skies I had without doing a lot of fussy masking and all that sort of thing. It takes a little bit of effort to make the brushes, but the beauty of it is that once the brushes are made, you can use them photograph after photograph. So here I have a photograph that I took in Venice with a very empty, boring sky, and then a couple of photographs of clouds that I took locally. And I chose photographs of clouds where the clouds can be isolated from the rest of the photograph so that there's sky all the way around the cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my two cloud photographs, and then I'm going to open them in Photoshop as two separate files. And now that we're over in Photoshop, we'll make a couple of brushes and then we'll bring in the actual photograph of Venice that we're working on. So here's a nice little grouping of clouds here that I'll make into a brush. They call it a brush, but in using it this way, it's really almost more like a rubber stamp. So I'm going to use my lasso tool and I'm going to select this little bunch of clouds here just by drawing my lasso around the group. Then I'm going to go copy it. And now I have something in my clipboard and I'm going to go up to New, and I'm going to take what's in my clipboard and create a new document with it. And I need to give it a title. I'm going to call it Demo Cloud 1. So when you're in this pop-up here, make sure that you have a document type of clipboard, and also make sure there's no dimension that's bigger than 5,000 pixels, because you can't make a brush that has a dimension greater than 5,000 pixels. Here our biggest dimension is 2,500 pixels, so we're good. Then we just click OK and we'll have our new document pop up. And the first thing we want to do is to paste our cloud into the document. Now, at this point, we need to darken this blue area until it's very dark. I don't want to get into a long explanation of brushes, but what we want to do is to make the brush so that it only puts the cloud into the image and the sky is removed. And the process of making a brush, we invert the image like an old film negative so that the dark colors become white and the white colors become dark. So anyway, what I'm going to do is convert it to a black and white image. And now I'm going to take these blues, what was blue in the image, and I pull it way down. As dark as I can get it without removing any detail. Now we can see some of the clouds beginning to disappear, so that's too far. We'll move it back until we have all the detail, but until the blue is quite dark, and that's good. Now we invert the image. So I go up here to Image, and adjustments, I think it is. And here we invert the image. Now we still have a little bit of difference between total transparency here and this what used to be blue. So we go up here to image again, and we're going to select levels, and this is where we correct that. First I'm going to close up this gap here, and then I bring down the highlight pointer here until that line disappears just about there. And now we have a perfect setting for our brush, and we're ready to make it into a brush, which is really quite simple. Come down here to define brush preset. I got one step ahead of me. It's a good idea to go, before you do that, to go up here to image and then trim the image. And this will take away any excess space so that the brush is as small as possible. So you'll see when I click on this, it got a little bit smaller. Not the end of the world if you forget to do that. So now we can go up to Edit and Define Brush Preset. And all we have to do is click OK, because we've already given a name to this file, and it transfers that name over to the name of your brush. So I click OK, and voila, here we have a nice cloud formation as a brush. So that's one cloud that we can use. And here's a second one. So let's quickly go through and make a second cloud brush. This one's a bit bigger, and so we select all the way around. We're going to have to check to make sure that it's less than 5,000 pixels wide, and we'll see. So now I'm going to copy it, if you remember, and then I'm going to go to File, New, make sure this is clipboard, and we just barely made it under 5,000 pixels here. If we hadn't, we'd have to go back and make our selection smaller or choose a different cloud. So this time I'll call it Demo Cloud 2. And this is all default settings here, so we should be okay. Click OK, and here we have our new file, but I need to paste the cloud into it that I copied, and there it is. And now I'm going to change the image to black and white because it's a brush. I'm going to take my blues and push them down as far as I can without losing highlight detail. We went a little too far. Right there seems good. Click OK. So now we have to invert our image because we're making a brush. So we go down here to Invert. Now we go up to Adjustments and Levels. We close up this gap down here, and then we bring down our highlight pointer until the gray representing the blue just disappears. We don't want to go too far or our detail starts to disappear. So we go back until the blue disappears, but most of the detail remains like that. So that should make a very nice cloud brush. All we have to do now is first trim the image in case we got, we can make it a smaller brush, which is more efficient, good thing to do. And now we go up to Edit, and we define our brush. I'll call it Demo Cloud 2, and we're good to go with a second cloud brush. And now I want to bring the other image into Photoshop. I can close all this stuff because now I have two brushes and I don't need these files anymore. So I'm going to go up here to Close All. Don't need to save anything. I'm going back to Lightroom now. And now we're going to work on our actual photograph of the cloudless sky from Venice. And at this point, you can do any number of photographs using the two cloud brushes that you created, or you could create more cloud brushes so that there's more variety for you to choose from. So I'm going to open this image in Photoshop. And now we simply need to select our brush tool, and then we can select our cloud brushes by going up here to this second from the left little thing pointing down. I'm not sure what this is called, but here you can select all your brushes. You can see I've made a number of other cloud brushes here. And here's Demo Cloud 1 and Demo Cloud 2 that we just made. So I'll click on this, and now when I come over here, you can see that there's a nice cloud brush that I can stamp into my photograph. Now I don't want to put it on any of the building parts because it'll cover it over, but I just select a part of the image where there's nothing but sky, and I can just add some clouds there. And let's select our other brush, cloud number 2. That was a bigger one, so we'll put it over here where we have lots of space. I don't know, something like that. And now we've got some interesting clouds in our image. At this point, all we need to do is go to File and Save, and we'll be back in Lightroom with a PSD file of this photograph that has clouds added to it. And there we are. Now the only thing I often do at this point is to adjust the white balance of the cloud. The cloud tends to, at least depending I guess on where you select the cloud from, but often my clouds are very white looking, but if we look at the white balance in the photograph here, we see that it's pretty warm. So I just go up to my brush here in the Develop module and add a little bit of warmth to the clouds. Doesn't take much time, and it makes it makes the clouds integrate better into the overall picture. So now I've got a warmer cloud. It's not so stark looking, and it fits into the image better. So there we are. The beauty of this is, first of all, you don't have to do a lot of masking to remove the sky. And when you don't remove the sky, then you don't have the problem of having the wrong color blue for your sky, and it doesn't really fit in with the color balance and the white balance of your image. So it's a nice way to bring clouds into your sky without disrupting the picture, the photograph, in some massively interfering kind of way. So that's how you can add clouds with a brush.